committee meeting. The school committee would like to, this meeting is being recorded by East Hampton Public Access Cable, and we would like to recognize and thank Tim Riley for taping tonight's production. East Hampton Public Access Cable Station, channels 5, 19, and 20, is looking for volunteers. If anyone is interested in helping to tape city government meetings, please contact Kathy Lynch at 413-203-1360. Superintendent Follansby, do you have some announcements for us?
I have a few announcements as we're almost at the end of the school year. The next school committee meetings are July 21st, August 11th, September 8th, and 22nd. Meetings will begin at 6:30. The last day of school is scheduled for tomorrow, Wednesday, June 24th. We wish everyone a fun and safe summer. And the first day of school for students is Monday, August 31st, 2015. And it will get here all too soon.
I was going to say, I don't think you should be
It's like a
mentioning
week
that.
after.
I know.
Not
Really?
yet. Okay. Do we have any correspondence?
As I move through, I don't see correspondence, I see gifts.
Hampton Community Center
Oh,
is one.
sorry, back page. Do we read the whole letter, or? No?
Can summarize?
I read it earlier today. This is a nice letter from East Hampton Community Center thanking the SAD students and staff members, SAD junior students and staff members, for a $101 donation that was made from a recent Superhero Day. So many kudos to them. This is written from Robin Bielecki, the executive director of the East Hampton Community Center. And one of the quotes in her nice letter is that you all truly have the superpower of helping your community by practicing acts of kindness, honesty, and collaboration in school and in your community. You are all superheroes, in my opinion.
Very nice. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have some gifts.
Yep.
Would you like to share?
It's a move to accept gifts. Please vote to accept with gratitude and appreciation the following gifts. George Dwyer for the making and creation of diploma cases for graduation ceremony. Thomas Corner of Florence Savings Bank for the donation of $1,500 for the EHS Summer Learning and Remediation Program. And Mr. and Mrs. Michael Ryan for the donation of American Heritage books and directories to EHS.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. At this time in our meeting, it's an opportunity for anyone from the public who would like to come and talk to us about any particular topic. We welcome people to do so at this time. If you'd state who you are and where you're from, that would be great. And it doesn't look as though anyone wants to do that. So we'll move on and...
Wait, can I point out two things that were in the press?
Sure.
Okay, I don't know where this should go in our normal agenda, but I thought it was interesting today that and yesterday that there were two stories that should be of interest to anyone who cares about education in the Commonwealth and in the city of East Hampton, if not the country as a whole. I recommend the New York Times article on grading the Common Core because there's no teaching experience required, so that when students take these now increasingly mandated tests, a for-profit company hires temporary workers, trains them for a brief period of time, some of them as many as 3 days, pays them $12 to $14 an hour, and they produce the grades that we care so much about. By contrast, the advanced placement program that we adopted voluntarily, that we took the initiative, can only be graded by college professors and experienced high school teachers who are knowledgeable in the discipline. So I think for folks who are caught up in this debate over standardized testing, and this also includes PARCC, it would be worthwhile to look, and the date is June 22nd, so it's yesterday's New York Times. It's grading the Common Core, no teaching experience required. There's some wonderful people. One of them is a former interior decorator. Another one is a home care specialist. Another one is a saleswoman with a master's degree in marital counseling. So she might be able to help the parents of the students. I'm not so sure that she is going to be well qualified to make an assessment that determines so much of what we hear about the quality of our schools. The other piece was just a story today, and it speaks to the importance of resources, and this was on NPR. And I would, as I would tell all of my students, beware. The New York Times and NPR both deserve to be approached critically because they probably have a perspective and a certain outlook on the world as they share this information. But one of the key pieces of a story that's entitled Recipe for Success with two student groups that often struggle is having the resources available for targeted intervention. And what they found was that students who are traditionally classified as minority or lower income, who traditionally are expected to perform less well on assessments with their peers who are not minority or who are better off economically, actually performed equally as well, or in some cases better, because the school system that they were in had the resources available to do targeted intervention in reading and math and other skills that these assessments look at. So I know that we're coming through a very difficult budget cycle, and I think everyone in the community has done a tremendous job in trying to provide the resources that our students need. But it continues to be the case that the evidence is clearly in favor of having the resources available to take care of students, particularly when we talk about the achievement gap, because that was one of the critical factors in moving the high school to level 1. Yes, was reducing the achievement gap, and one of the best ways to reduce the achievement gap is to have your outstanding students continue to perform extraordinarily well, but to have students who have traditionally struggled improve. And this story suggests that for Native Americans, which is one of the study groups that they looked at, as well as other minorities, that having the resources available for targeted intervention makes a significant and measurable difference. So it's an investment in improving the quality of education. It seems to me that's much more authentic with what we have heard in the past, with presentations from our curriculum director and other members of the superintendent's staff who've spoken to their ability to target resources with key populations in the schools that make a huge difference. And I think it's important for people who might be interested in figuring out, what's the background on that, to look at this story as well. It might provide some enlightening information. So thanks for letting me offer those two things.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll be moving on to, we're going to move to section 4 of our agenda. We're going to move that up before we get to our discussion section. And so let's talk about the minutes from our last meeting.
The minutes we'll have the minutes for the next meeting, correct?
Okay, not available yet. Okay, very good. How about warrants and payroll?
Yes. Payroll. I move to approve the school payroll dated June 25th, 2015 in the amount of $954,069.64.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions?
You keep sneaking by without repeating those numbers.
Well, I guess I should. I was
Yeah,
wondering
yeah,
when I should
yeah.
start
Yeah.
tonight. Okay, or whether I should wait. Okay. I think that's supposed to happen before the vote.
Yeah, I know. It's too late now. It's
Okay,
okay.
all right.
I move to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated June 25th, 2015 in the amount of $764,738.56.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll do it next week.
That is it.
Next time. Okay, very good. Next on the agenda would be our out-of-state and out-of-country field trip requests.
We have a proposal for a trip to Costa Rica. I'm just trying to read sorry.
That's the end
I'm trying to
packet.
scroll down to find oops, there it is. No, that's Quebec. The Quebec one's in here again.
It is. There are two.
You guys just keep bringing that back.
Costa Rica.
Here we go. Here's the trip. The proposal is Miss Anderson intends to take students to Costa Rica for an ecological and cultural trip, and this would be in April of 2016.
And they are here this evening, Ms. Anderson and a few of her students.
Okay.
And they'd like to have an opportunity to tell you a little bit about
Well, then
this.
rather than me read it, why don't we hear from them?
That'd be great.
Yes, please.
Hello, everyone. This is actually a trip that I was lucky enough to experience in April of 2014. I went with Northampton High School. I was one of their chaperones, and I had talked to Superintendent Follinsby about it when I went then. But the whole purpose, well, the main purpose of the trip is to work authentic ecological experiences. So one of the main highlights of the trip is the students get to work with critically endangered leatherback sea turtles, and they actually patrol the beach looking for nesting turtles. They get to take measurements, tag the turtles, relocate the eggs to a protected hatchery. It's a truly amazing experience, and actually USA Today just had an article over the weekend that leatherback sea turtles were on their list of species that could be completely extinct within the next 2 years. So it's truly an amazing experience. There's lots of other highlights though, including a trip to a wildlife sanctuary that works with monkeys, a trip to the Bribri, which are an indigenous community in Costa Rica that live extremely remotely, and they show us how they live, how they put together their houses, they give us food. We visit a local elementary school, we go to a butterfly farm, zip lining, whitewater rafting. It's really an amazing experience that changed my life as well as all the students that I went with to Northampton. So I really wanted to bring this opportunity to East Hampton. As soon as I came back, I knew it was something that the students would love. And these are just some of the students that I had talked to about the trip. I had an informational meeting earlier in the year, and I had about 37 students show up, which is a lot more than I want to take with me. I was looking to take maybe between 7 and 15. I think I might max it out at. So yeah, this would be April 2016 over the spring vacation. And these are just some students who wanted to tell you just how they got jobs to raise money for the trip, and just if you had any questions for them, they wanted to come along. So.
And are they going to speak to us too? Did they want to say anything?
Just the trip is very important to us. We've been really trying to plan it a lot through the year, and just thinking about who would come, and Chloe and I personally, we both got jobs, and we both have been saving money for months to try and go on the trip, and planning to get passports and vaccinations and all that fun stuff. So,
and I think in comparison to the other trips, this
You guys
one
are
is
going to have to come closer to the mic, or no one at home will know what you're saying. They'll just see you there, and it'll be like a silent movie.
and in comparison to the other trips offered at school, this one's a lot more financially reachable. At least for me, I was able to raise all the money intended for just 1 year, working less than 15 hours a week at a part-time job. So I think it's also attainable for a lot of other students who want to go. And I'm really excited that they're offering a cultural and scientific trip. I think this would be a really unique experience for EHS and for me. Yeah. Do you want to say anything? No, I'm good.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much.
That's great.
anyone have any questions for Ms. Anderson?
You said you had such a great turnout at your informational meeting. How will you make the cut?
I was planning on having students write an essay on why they wanted to come, and just I think once they have to actually financially commit to it, that there might be not 37 of them anymore. But yeah, an essay mostly.
Any other questions?
Is there any room for financial aid? What about somebody who desperately wants to go but hasn't had the good fortune to find a job or plan far enough in advance?
Yeah, well, we've actually been doing a lot of fundraising, and these students have a lot of great ideas how they want to continue fundraising. So mostly fundraising is their goal, and the company EcoTeach is just the one that we go with. They offer some fundraising ideas as well. So mostly fundraising.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the field trip to Costa Rica.
Second.
All those in favor?
So how many trips are
Do
we
we
up
get
to
to know?
now? How many trips are we up to? And seriously, I mean, each of them individually is great, and I've been down this road before, so I'll be brief. Are we up now to 3 with potential? I believe
Sounds that way so far.
the next one coming will also. Did I misread the next one in terms of the date? I apologize. No, I lied. The other one's not in conflict. So we've got 3 trips that are all targeted at the April vacation, and they've all been signed off by the principal as being a good idea. Is there any?
Well, I think each of them has a different focus.
Right, but is there a concern about cannibalism among?
I believe that the building principal does not have that concern. I know he has talked with the advisors, potential advisors for these trips, and really thought with them about the planning for it, and I'm sure he would not have approved it and put it forth to us if he felt there was a concern.
Yeah, well, I was sure of that too, except he put the two previous ones forth with, and I did raise that concern. So
Well, we
I realize
could-
that the
you-
principal sort of doesn't
could-
have the concern that I have, but
We could ask Ms. Anderson if she'd like to come up and talk about her talks with Principal Perone, if that would be helpful.
sure.
to you.
And I just want you to understand, Ms. Anderson, if you've seen or heard anything of my previous comments about trips, I'm an advocate of the trips. They're wonderful trips.
I was here.
You know, my concern about them is that they become an exclusive event. This one doesn't run into some of the difficulties the others did because it's entirely within the time that the students would be away from school. So they could all get together and go on this trip without you if they could all organize it through, in which case it's not really the same. But I do think that every time we endorse a trip for our students, we're endorsing something that we think is valuable for people to have access to. And yet, as you yourself acknowledged, the 37 number will fall in part because some people will find that the cost. And that to me is always problematic because we're endorsing it as a good thing. And I'm just curious about how we, particularly when we have 3 of them going on, where I can imagine there's only so much financial aid available between the 3 different trips. So if you have a comment on that, I would love to hear it.
Dr. Perone actually had me talk to both Ms. Mango and Mr. Benoit because he did say, you know, we are a small school, that we already have 2 trips that have been approved. And I talked with both of them, and both of them are pretty confident that they have enough numbers as it is to go. And I had actually had a pretty lengthy discussion with Mr. Benoit that in the future we could actually combine our trips to have like an exchange scientific program that it would be pretty easy to do, and that in the future that would be, you know, more of a combined effort.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Exciting idea.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We were really
Yeah,
excited about
and
it.
please don't. It'll be perceived the way it's perceived. I've pledged out of the stipend that I receive as a member of the school committee to support, in part because I can't certainly support more than one student and only in part, someone who might otherwise not be able to go, even if they did work. And I applaud Chloe and her classmates who are working hard to do this, to make this possible. But I do think it's important for us as when the students return and some students can talk about the experience they had, the impact that has on the other students who can only aspire to that is part of their educational experience, and we're creating that by endorsing it. And so I think we have a responsibility to anticipate what that means and to attend to that. As long as we're attentive to it, then I think we're on solid ground. But it's not something, and I'm not suggesting anyone's sort of glossing over it, but sometimes in our excitement and our enthusiasm, when we get 8 or 9 or 10 kids who say, oh, I can raise the money, or my parents or my family can do it, that can sometimes fall to the side. And I just want to keep it from falling off the table in the discussion as we look at these
Right.
trips.
That was actually when I first came back from my trip. I had actually wanted to go this previous April, and when I had talked to some students, they said, that's kind of last minute. Let's do it next year so that we can raise a lot of money. And I had brought that up when I had the informational meeting, that I was really excited to do a lot of fundraising, and if the students were really excited about it too, that we could really raise a lot of money. So I told them, don't be discouraged by the price, because if you guys are really into this, I can get really into this, and we can really raise a lot of money to really reduce the cost. So that was something I had brought up to them.
Have you started fundraising already?
Yeah, so we have about $700 right now.
So what-
that was just among 3 fundraisers.
So what, do you mind talking about your fundraiser?
Yeah, so we did a pumpkin-gram around Halloween, where the students could send little mini, well, they were gourds, not pumpkins, to each other. We did one of the cans at the Big E, and then we did a little bake sale on a half day of school. So just in those 3, we raised $700. So, and the students have lots of more ideas for things to do over the summer and to continue raising money up until the trip.
That's great.
Great, wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Let us know if you need any chaperones.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, and we have a second.
Yes, I seconded it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Then we have a proposal for a trip to Quebec during Carnival. Amy, you're not going to stay for the whole event? No, it's okay.
Thank you guys for
Thank
coming
you. Have a good night.
Chloe in particular knows that I want her to stay, but that's all right. She's going to go anyway. This is from January 29th, 2016 through February 1st, 2016. And it's a focus on carnival practices and tradition in which both French and Spanish celebrate. So that's the description. I don't think there was anything. Oh, and then there's a flyer from Explorica Travel that describes the itinerary and the cost and the breakdown in the packet. So I think everyone has seen or had the opportunity to see that.
Do we have a motion for,
So I move that we accept the proposal for an East Hampton High School trip to Quebec during Carnival.
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, now we'll move back to the discussion section of our meeting, and we'll start off with asking about a finance subcommittee report.
Nothing new at this time.
Okay. And the policy subcommittee?
We met, I don't remember when the last date was.
The 9th.
June 9th, I'm sorry. It's in the minutes are included in the packet, and there's a number of policy updates. And tonight's for the first reading, correct? Correct.
Yes.
I'm not sure how that.
So motion
proceeds.
to accept for first reading policy GH updated in regards to student discipline. Is that adequate?
It's JG.
Did I say J?
We're updating JG
Sorry, it's now,
to
it goes
JIC.
from being JG to JIC.
Correct. Second?
It's like the New Deal haunts us to the end, right?
All those in favor?
I just have one question about the third sentence. Just sounded funny to me. Students will be expected to conduct themselves in a way that the rights and privileges of others are not violated. In a way that, I don't know, just the grammar of it.
In a way that sounds
Yeah,
better.
way that
No, it says in a way that now.
says.
I don't know if it should be to conduct themselves in a way such that the rights and privileges of others are not violated.
So the word such.
Yeah. I'm
We
good.
can amend
I'm
that
okay
here,
with
can't
it.
we?
So.
So
we can-
you're proposing an amendment to the language?
This is a recommendation from MASC.
Yeah.
This is their policy that they're recommending.
Right.
We
But I would agree
we
with,
can insert a such that
I would agree with
in a way such
Dan that such makes it more readable,
Yeah, it's
sensible.
Where are you?
so on our first reading, third sentence.
Third sentence?
Students will be expected to conduct themselves in a way such that the rights and privileges of others are not violated.
It's better. Dan's suggestion makes it better. Sorry that we missed that.
No problem. That's all I had there.
Okay.
We good with that amendment? There was a motion and a second, I believe.
Now, do we need to actually vote on each?
Yes.
For the
Reading
first
or
reading?
first
Yes, we
reading?
vote
Okay.
for the first reading.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Second policy is policy JH, which is updated in regards to student absences. And again, I think this is MASC recommendation.
Second?
All those in favor? Motion passes.
All right, I'm trying to be really paper conservative here. Third policy is
Student conduct.
student conduct. Sorry, I apologize.
JFC?
Yes. Proposal to update policy JFC to JK regarding student conduct. This is also a first reading.
Second?
All those in favor? Motion passes.
Policy, I move that we accept policy JFH updated JII
Second?
under student complaints and grievances.
Second.
All those in favor?
That's why the policy
Motion
book is
passes.
so big.
It's important.
Some of these are only like a paragraph long. So, policy BHD, motion, I move that we accept for first reading the policy BHD, school committee member compensation and expenses, which I took to be simply a confirmation of past practice. Correct?
Yes, except we had to change it to payroll instead of.
Right, because it's no longer a
expense
stipend, it's now payroll, but it has no material impact on expenses to the district or
Correct.
compensation to the school committee.
Correct.
It's simply how it's processed.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So, motion?
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Okay, motion passes. Okay, moving on to the Collaborative for Educational Services update.
That's a group that meets once every 3 months, and our next meeting is tomorrow.
Oh,
So I don't
okay,
have any new updates. I missed the one post my back surgery, so,
okay.
which was reported at our last school committee meeting.
So we'll look forward to hearing about that next time.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, next on the agenda is the superintendent's evaluation. And I have some information that we would like to share. The school committee has evaluated Superintendent Follansbee's job performance for the 2014-2015 school year. Each member of the committee has provided a written summative evaluation report after studying and evaluating endless numbers of documents and data related to the 4 key standards of performance for the job of superintendent. The evaluation report, created by the state of Massachusetts, focuses on the following 4 areas of performance. Number 1 is instructional leadership. Number 2 is management and operations. Number 3 is family and community engagement. And number 4 is professional culture. The superintendent is rated as either unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, or exemplary. The state makes it clear that a rating of proficient is considered fully satisfactory. That is the rigorous expected level of performance. I have reviewed each of the committee members' reports and all of their comments and analysis for each standard, and the combined results of our committee were very clear. Superintendent Follansbee was rated proficient, at least proficient overall on all 4 of the performance standards, and the superintendent has received an exceedingly positive evaluation. This evaluation is available for the public to review. If anyone would like to look at the report, simply ask Sue Colby, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent, for a copy, and you're welcome to do that. It'll be very clear to all who read the detailed report that we are very, very fortunate to have Nancy Follansbee as our superintendent. And we thank her very much for her outstanding service to our district. Thank you, Nancy.
And thank you, Deb, and school committee members for the evaluation and your support. And clearly it is with us working together, school committee and superintendent, that we are going to make the kind of progress that I know we all want to make in our East Hampton Public Schools. I think we've done some very good things together. I thank you for the support that you've given me in my position and the initiatives that we have in our district. And it really is through that collaboration that we're able to move the district forward in such a positive way, a way that we can all feel proud of. So I thank you as well.
Thank you very much. Okay, next on our agenda is our superintendent's report.
So I wanted to give the community and school committee members an update on our wellness plan and the work that we did in our wellness committee this year. So I've given you a document that shows the goals of our wellness committee this year. It shows in black what our key actions were going to be for the year, and in blue the updates for what we have feel we've accomplished this year. So goal 1 was to increase the number of students walking or biking to school. Our 2 major areas of emphasis were increase activity and also increase healthy foods in our district and for our students and families. So we do have both our elementary schools, all of our elementary schools, and Brook enrolled in the Safe Routes to Schools program, which is about trying to get more students walking and biking to school. And because we're all enrolled in the program now, we're also eligible for a Safe Routes to Schools grant, which we'll apply for this coming year, which will help us further our work in terms of helping us get more of our students and families walking and biking to school. We wanted to determine also whether we could get this grant, and we expected that we were going to apply for the grant this year, but discovered that in order to apply for the grant, we had to be in the Safe Routes to School program for a year. So we are putting off the application until year 2, as you can see from the report. Maple School did hold a bike safety day on May 6th, and it was well attended at the school. That was one of our key actions. We also had thought that we wanted to do a trial walking school bus program in collaboration with high school students. We had generated this idea that we would try to get high school students to walk with elementary students, either to school or from school at the end of the day. The logistics of it were a little more than we were able to carry off this year. So we've moved that to year 2, and you can see that it's in year 2, and we've got some ideas for doing a pilot trial where we'll have different school bus stops, and that maybe the high school students can be there, the ones that are available, and pick the kids up and walk, and we'll have parents and so forth. But we haven't gotten all the details for that yet, but we're quite excited about that. And then you can see what the goals are, or the actions are for year 2. One of the ones that we're also very excited about is establishing a Girls on the Run club for elementary girls. Molly Hood, who was a former teacher in our district and who has started these clubs in the Northampton schools and a few other school districts, came to us and asked us if we'd be interested in it. So we're looking at it now and at the implementation of that program, and hoping to get it off the ground in the fall. And we'll have more information for the committee about it once we have had more conversations. The next goal was to increase the amount of physical activity at White Brook Middle School and the high school, specifically outside of the physical education program, such as a running or walking club. So one of our actions was to establish a cross-country club at White Brook. We did not do that, and I neglected to update this. There was a jog-walk club at White Brook this year, so, small step towards that. And we had as an action to establish a ski club at White Brook instead, and actually this worked out very well. White Brook students joined the East Hampton High School ski club, and so they all went skiing together, so that was fun for everyone.
Nancy, can I?
Sure.
Do you want us to wait until the end?
No, actually, probably easier if you ask.
So I was just curious about the ski club. I know I'm stating the obvious here, but primarily it's a winter activity, and the running club. It seems to me as though they could do both without them being in any sort of competition.
Yes.
In fact, they might be really supportive of each other. As someone who coaches cross-country runners, I know that with any sort of athletic endeavor, there's an expense. But one of the great things about these kids who run is, particularly cross-country, is they run wherever. We have this phenomenal park right in our city center. And it just seems to me that if it wouldn't interfere with any of the other goals of our athletic program, and I defer to those folks who are looking at that more closely, but that if this took off at the middle school level with these girls, that for those who don't find soccer or some of the other organized activities that already exist at the school, having a cross-country team it is a relatively inexpensive way to have kids. They tend to do well. Tends to be a great source of camaraderie and pride, and can be a great complement to a program like this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Peter, and I actually talked with the athletic director about that probably a year or so ago. We didn't get it off the ground at that point in time, but I think it could be a really valuable program to add.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, so our third goal was to engage parents in importance of students getting enough physical activity. So we were going to research messaging channels and get public service announcements out, and research what the most effective health messages would be. We did not do that this year. We found that we were so engaged in trying to get the plan into place and do some of the things that were more immediate and that we had kind of started doing. So again, we moved that to year 2, and had some ideas, brainstorms ideas, which I believe you'll find in the notes about how we were going to do that in year 2. We're also going to meet over the summer to begin planning for year 2, so that I think will help us be more efficient in getting some of these things done. Goal 4 was to strengthen the school garden programs at Maple, Center Pepin, and Whitebrook. We're very excited about this. Our garden programs are very strong, but we want to go further, push forward in it. So one of our actions for this year was to sync menu items in school lunch programs with the Garden Harvest. And Andrew Stratton, our food service director, did an excellent job of that. They did kale chips and salsa, and or kale chips salsa, I guess it was, and cornbread made from ground corn from the gardens. And then we also talked about whether, even if the vegetable wasn't in our gardens, if it's a vegetable that could have been in our gardens, we could also, incorporate that. So Andrew's been a great participant in that. We had put in an action plan for establishing professional development points for teachers to participate in the garden projects, but the garden projects were so successful. The teachers and the students were so engaged in them that we just had no need to do this as an incentive. It was something that everyone wanted to incorporate into instruction, so it was great. Teacher participation was high, and so we didn't need that. We had talked about connecting the gardens with a 21st Century After School program to provide snack or ingredients to cook with their enrichment programs, but we decided that our own in-school program needed to be bolstered up before we moved it into the after-school program. One of the things that we talked about this year, but we put it as an action for next year, is a community harvest event, like a community harvest dinner or event, and we talked about doing it small, that we might just put tables of food out at an open house, and then grow it into, there are a number of districts that have these community garden festivals and events, and so we are looking towards doing that eventually, but we want to start, small so that it's manageable for us. And our goal 5 was to decrease the amount of unhealthy food that is used for promotions, incentives, and fundraisers. We currently have a number of recommendations in our current wellness policy about things to do other than food, using food for rewards, and so we're going to continue to do that. We're going to look at modifying that for year 2. Having quite the storm here. And
The rain has arrived.
yes, that predicted rain is here.
The light outside just changed by a few.
You can see it in the little connector.
Yeah. So
Everyone's car still in the parking lot?
yeah, it's the sky isn't black yet, so I think we're still okay. We also, though, are going to ramp up distributing our plan to all of our teachers and having administrators really, set the expectations that what is in the plan will be carried out throughout the school, to have it more of a school community belief system in the use of healthy foods and healthy activity, and the minimizing of unhealthy foods and the lack of activity. And then, as I say, I included the notes so that you can kind of see the discussion.
Just in terms of goal 5, I know that a number of years ago, and I'm forgetting, but I remember when LaDonna Crow was a school committee member, that this was a topic of discussion, and it seems like what went from being something of a debatable topic has now moved to a place where it's sort of firmly in the center of everyone's understanding in a
Yes.
relatively short space. Remember, if I remember it
Absolutely.
correctly,
I do remember.
the discussion about
Yeah.
selling Coca-Cola and
Yes,
to
sir.
Twizzlers
Yes.
to raise money
Yes.
used to be thought of as, oh my gosh, please don't
Yes.
tell us we can't do that.
Right.
And it sounds as though now we've moved to a place where the students and the general community are saying, okay, our first instinct isn't to go there.
Exactly.
Even if they still show up on occasion.
Exactly. And Peter, you'll remember also that we talked about not having soda or candy or cake, that kind of thing, available for,
Even by the boosters,
yeah,
right?
even rewards in school, birthday
Right.
parties,
Right.
rewards, for a, job well done in school. And so that's really shifted as well. As you know from Andrew Stratton's presentations, none of our beverage dispensing machines in the schools contain soda or any of those high-calorie, high-sugar drinks. So you're right. It's clearly a culture shift and a very positive one.
And it all fits in great with the walking,
Yes.
biking. It all fits in nicely, running. It's
Yes.
And there was a great, again, I apologize, having had the benefit of 2 days of vacation, I got to listen to any number of things, but there was a great story today just talking about the fact that just walking is a really good thing. There's all this
Absolutely.
debate about is it exercise, does it help? And the research continues to come in that in any number of ways, both physical and mental and emotional, that this kind of activity has benefits beyond just the activity itself, which can be, you can walk along. They even talk about being able to walk along and still have a conversation, and yet reaping benefits in the classroom and in other places. So
And not strenuous.
Right.
yeah, it's
Absolutely.
And we are excited about bringing that into our curriculum more, those opportunities to walk, as you say, because they're pretty easy to incorporate into the school day. So, any other questions about the wellness?
I have one
progress.
question.
Sure.
I'm just curious about the makeup of the people on the committee. It looks like you've got people, not just staff members, not just administrators, and I was wondering if you could just talk about that for a minute, and I didn't know if there might be other people out there in the community that might want to get involved as you go forward. I don't know.
Yes, definitely. So the state regulations about wellness plans, the requirements are that we have members from different sectors of the community. So we have administrators, we have parents, we have health professionals. Lois Levin is a dietitian, a school committee member, and we're very grateful for Dan Carey for volunteering, and he's been an active member. And we have
pun
Ruth Ever.
intended. I'm sorry. Bad joke.
What was that?
I said pun intended. You said active member. I thought.
Oh, yes, right, yes.
Sorry.
I did intend that, Peter. And then we have Ruth Ever from the Coalition, so that's a nice combination, nice collaboration. We are missing a student. We're supposed to have a student rep. We did have Brian Delaney, who came to a few meetings. Brian's schedule is pretty full, so he wasn't able to come to all the meetings, but we did brainstorm ways to get other student representatives, and I think you found those in the notes as well, to join us on the Wellness Committee. So it's an active committee. It's, lots of people generating good ideas, and we're really excited about the work. And so if there are any other parents or community members who'd like to join our Wellness Committee, please send me an email. I would love to include you in our meetings.
Great. Excellent.
You just made mention of something that only got coverage recently. I think we spoke about it earlier, but the Gazette recently covered Brian Delaney's successful ascension to he's the president of the
year.
national
Yeah.
organization now, and I think we talked about that a bit, but it strikes me that, and I don't know if we can include it in the minutes, but the Gazette had a lengthy and I thought really thoughtful piece about how he came to be selected and what it represents, and it's amazing because it's a national organization and they've chosen Brian to be their leader, and I think that speaks to him and to the quality of the experience that he's had here in East Hampton.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there was a wonderful editorial about it this morning in the paper as well. Okay, so that would be the end of my wellness plan report.
Thank you very much.
Is the admission policy a matter for action, or are we just doing a second reading on that tonight?
You have to vote to approve it
So
because
it is a matter for action.
right, it's not a policy, so it's just to vote to approve it.
Sorry, right. So motion to approve the East Hampton Public Schools admission policy for career vocational technical education for the school year 2015-2016.
Second.
And just to note for the public that we've all reviewed this and discussed it previously, just so everyone knows that.
Right,
Okay.
and there were some revisions
made some
made.
revisions.
Right,
A number
right. So
of it.
this is back for, yeah, a
This
final
is
review.
the second look at it,
Right.
and
So I
it's
just
in
wanted to
better shape.
explain that.
It read much, much smoother.
Just wanted to explain that for anyone
people wouldn't
watching.
think what's coming
Yeah,
to them.
that's, yeah, that we've studied this thoroughly and we've responded, and this is our final review and approval. All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Have a
Very
good night,
good.
folks. Happy swimming.